Zetian, the only woman to ever rule as emperor in China's long history, is a figure of immense fascination and enduring significance. Her rise from a lowly concubine to the supreme ruler of the vast and powerful Tang dynasty is not just a story of personal ambition and political savvy, but also a tale of determination, intelligence, and the breaking of long-standing gender barriers. In the distant 7th century, this woman made a historical sensation, becoming the first, and as time has shown, the only empress of the Middle Kingdom. Her reign lasted more than 70 years, and remains one of the most remarkable chapters in the Chinese history, characterized by her innovative governance, cultural patronage, and the controversial means by which she secured and maintained her power. Now, the interesting question is, why is there only one female emperor in China? Therefore, in this video, we will see what made Wu Zetian so powerful and captivating both as a woman and as a ruler. So first, let's say who was Wu Zetian. Wu Zetian, also known as Wu, was an ambitious woman with looks that matched her sharp intelligence and competence in politics. Luckily for her, she was born during the Tang dynasty, a golden age where customs were relatively more liberal and women had more freedom compared to their ancestors. Wu Zetian was Empress of China from 660 to 705, ruling first through others and then in her own right. She was the only female sovereign in the history of China widely regarded as legitimate. Under her 45-year reign, China grew larger, becoming one of the great powers of the world. Its culture and economy were revitalized and corruption in the court was reduced. She was eventually removed from power during a coup and died a few months later. A strong, charismatic, vengeful, ambitious, well-educated woman who enjoyed her husband's absolute affection. Wu was the most powerful and influential woman at court during a period when the Tang dynasty was at the peak of its glory. Wu Zetian gained significant power and influence, and she used her position to cultivate a network of loyal supporters among the court officials and military leaders. She was from a wealthy family and had been raised by a father that encouraged her to read, write, and develop her mind in ways that were usually reserved for men. Now, isn't that what you can make of yourself when you put effort into your development? And I often speak about that in my movie analysis. Ambition and knowledge are sexy and necessary. We do need to fit our mind and make it beautiful and powerful. Now, coming back to our Wu Zetian, she was more decisive and proactive than her husband, and historians consider her to have been the real power behind the throne during Joseon reign for more than 20 years until his death. Empress Wu Zetian is considered one of the greatest emperors in Chinese history due to her strong leadership and effective governance, which made China one of the world's most powerful nations. Wu Zetian was an extraordinary woman, attractive, exceptionally gifted, politically astute, and an excellent judge of men. With single-minded determination, she overcame the opposition of the Confucian establishment through her own efforts, unique among palace women by not using her own family. Her rise to power was steeped in blood, and so Wu Zetian reigned as the sole leader of the country for 15 years. To prove her worthiness and legitimize her rule, she appealed to the three main religions at that time: Confucianism, Buddhism, and Taoism. She did so by building a godlike image relating herself to powerful female divinities and to influential women. And this really reminds me of Cleopatra that I have also done an analysis on. There were actually a few queens and female rulers who had dominated the country as an emperor throughout Chinese history, and there were many more who had run the state from behind the scene as a queen or mother, either through their incompetent husband or young sons. However, we have only one female emperor, Wu Zetian. So let's take a minute to consider the significance of such recognition. China was traditionally an extremely patriarchal country. Unlike European countries who recognize female rulers as long as the crown stayed in the family, Chinese emperors would rather pass the crown to distant cousins who can't count to 10 than letting his daughter take it. The culture, tradition, and law all strongly rejected the idea of having a female female ruler. And so, in other words, there were no way for a girl to become a female emperor regardless of her social status, education, or capability. And so, Zetian, a woman of low birth who had no political background, did the impossible against all odds. She didn't stop at being the empress or de facto ruler of the state. She wanted to be recognized as a true emperor, an emperor recorded by the court historians and going down history. She wanted to be regarded as equal of men. And this is what makes her truly unique in Chinese history. Zetian was a woman of her own kind. She had acquired a very special skill set during her dramatic life. She was born pretty smart with a heart of iron. She entered the palace at a very early age without much family support and had to learn to protect her own interests. She had this hunger for power, and she never gave up no matter how desperate her situation was. No other woman could have done what she has done. And now let's list her achievements into few inspiring points. Point number 1 is breaking gender barriers. Zetian's rise to power is extraordinary given the patriarchal society of ancient China. She was born during the Tang dynasty, where women were typically confined to domestic roles. Despite this, Zetian broke through gender norms, ascending from a concubine to empress and ultimately becoming the only woman to rule China as emperor in her own right. In the traditional Confucian society, women were expected to be obedient, modest, and relegated to the domestic sphere. Femininity was associated with virtues such as chastity, passivity, and submission. However, of course, Zetian's ascent to power required a radical departure from those ideals. Zetian did not conform to the passive role expected of women. Instead, she exhibited qualities traditionally ascribed to masculinity, such as assertiveness, strategic thinking, and political acumen. Her rise to power was marked by her ability to wield influence over male courtiers, manipulate political factions, and make decisive and often ruthless decisions to eliminate rivals. By assuming the role of emperor, she fundamentally challenged the Confucian notion of gender hierarchy, which held that men were naturally superior to women and that political power was a male domain. Zetian's rule therefore stands as a significant historical instance where femininity was redefined to include traits that allowed for active participation in the public and political spheres. Point number 2 is political acumen and leadership. Zetian was an effective ruler. She demonstrated remarkable political savvy using intelligence, strategic marriages to secure her power. Her rule was the stabilization of the empire, expansion of its borders, and the continuation of prosperity. She also instituted significant reforms, including those related to agriculture, education, and the military. Point number 3 is the support for the arts and Buddhism. Under Zetian, there was a significant support for Buddhism, which she used to legitimize her rule. She commissioned numerous Buddhist works and temples, contributing to the flourishing of art and culture. Her reign also helped Buddhism become deeply embodied in the Chinese society. Point number 4 is reforms and innovations. Zetian implemented several progressive reforms. She promoted capable individuals regardless of their social status and expanded the civil service examination system, which allowed for the more merit-based appointments. Point number 5 is complex legacy. Zetian's legacy is complex and debated. While some traditional historians painted her as ruthless and power-hungry, others recognize her as a capable and effective leader. However, modern historians often view her reign as one that, despite its controversies, brought about positive changes and maintained the stability of the Tang dynasty. Point number 6 is inspiration for women and leaders. Zetian's life story is an inspiration to many, especially women and those facing significant obstacles. Her determination, intelligence, and ability to seize opportunities in a male-dominated world demonstrate that leadership is not confined to any gender. Point number 7 is utilizing femininity as a political tool. While Zetian defied traditional gender roles, she also understood the power of femininity and used it to her advantage. Early in life as a concubine and later as empress, she utilized her beauty, charm, and intelligence to gain favor and influence within the court. Her ability to navigate the male-dominated political environment was partially due to her skill in cultivating an image that balanced the both both traditional feminine virtues and the ruthlessness necessary for political survival. Moreover, Zetian leveraged her position as a mother to legitimize her rule. She promoted the idea of herself as the mother of the nation, a role that both resonated with traditional Confucian values and allowed her to present her role as a natural extension of her maternal duties. This clever manipulation of feminine imagery allowed her to assert authority in a way that was acceptable within the cultural framework of the time, even as she was subverting the very structures that limited women's power. Point number 8 is cultural legacy. Zetian's reign had significant legacy in the culture, especially in how femininity and female power were perceived in Chinese society. On one hand, her rule was often portrayed negatively in historical accounts, many of which were written by Confucian scholars who were deeply uncomfortable with the idea of a female ruler. She was frequently depicted as a tyrant who resorted to cruelty and manipulation to maintain her power. Those portrayals reflect a cultural backlash against the idea of a woman occupying the highest position of authority. On the other hand, Zetian's reign also left a lasting legacy that challenged the rigid gender norms of that time. She demonstrated that women could possess the qualities necessary for leadership and could rule effectively, even in the patriarchal society. Her ability to redefine femininity and use it as a tool of empowerment has inspired both administration and controversy, leading to a complex legacy. Point number 9 is redefinition of femininity. Zetian's story is a powerful example of how femininity can be redefined and expanded to encompass qualities traditionally viewed as masculine. Her reign challenges the binary understanding of gender roles, showing that qualities such as strength, intelligence, and ambition are not inherently male or female, but can be embodied by anyone, regardless of their gender. And in many ways, Zetian's redefinition of femininity was a precursor to later feminist movements that sought to expand the roles and opportunities available to women. By demonstrating that a woman could rule as effectively as a man, she opened the door for future generations to question and challenge the limitations placed on women by society. And point number 10 is modern reflections on femininity and power. In modern times, Zetian's life and reign continue to be a subject of fascination and study, particularly in discussions about the intersection of gender and power. The depiction of Zetian in modern media and popular culture also reflects ongoing debates about femininity and leadership. Some portrayals emphasize her ruthlessness and ambition, while others focus on her intelligence and political skill. Those varying depictions underscore the complexity of her character and the challenges she faced as a woman in power. And now, on a final note, let's take today's story as a powerful reminder that no matter the circumstances that we find ourselves in, women are more than capable of rising to the challenge and going above and beyond expectations. Zetian's life and reign are a testament to her extraordinary ability, intelligence, and determination. She was a ruler who not only achieved what no other woman in Chinese history had, but also left a lasting impact on the empire she governed. And in a world that often denied women the opportunity to lead, Zetian carved out her place in history as the only female emperor. Her legacy is a powerful reminder of the potential for leadership and change, regardless of gender, and she remains a figure of inspiration for all of us who dare to defy societal expectations and make something meaningful out of ourselves. Now, ladies, I hope this story inspires you as much as it inspired me. Let me know if you have watched the series on Zetian reign. And I think that similarly to Cleopatra, she has shown us that when we use both our feminine and masculine energy, we can really achieve greatness. The only thing we need is ambition and determination. I also believe that all of us have a little piece of both Cleopatra and Zetian in us. Now, let's think, how are we going to use that?